part. It's the mission Debrief. We've played every mission of the mainline Halo video games, and now we're playing every mission from the rest of the games in the franchise in chronological order. Each episode, we'll be discussing our experiences and sprinkling in a little lore along the way. If you'd like to play along and have your thoughts read on the show, email us, podcastevolved@gmail.com, or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. We'll be recapping our experience with Fireteam Raven on the next episode. If you like what you hear and want to support the show, visit Podcast Evolved on Patreon. This episode, we're debriefing all the missions from the arcade experience, Halo Fireteam Raven. We have an arcade game now. What is up? I'm your host, Colin Perkins, alongside Oren DeMang.
Hey, guys.
And Krista Brown.
Hey, look, there's an actual Halo in this Halo game.
It's featured quite heavily in this Halo game.
Who's this new person with us?
Oren. Oh yeah, Oren. What the heck? Oren, who are you?
He's never been.
Yeah,
on
who
an
am I?
episode of Mission
He has.
Debrief.
No, he has. What were you on? You were on one.
So I've been on one other mission debrief episode, and that was the Silent Cartographer for Halo CE.
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago.
That was that was ages ago.
It was ages ago.
It was a whole
in the
nother time,
beginning.
a whole other era.
Oren has some first-hand experience with the Fireteam Raven arcade game. However, our compatriot David does not. So we felt like it would make sense to have Oren on this show, and then David will rejoin us for the recap show, which would be a lot of fun to hear kind of him pout about how he hasn't been able to play this game.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear him talk about how envious he is and how upset that he can't play it.
It just hasn't come to his part of Ireland just yet.
Yep, not yet, but it's hopefully soon, right? Hopefully soon. So this is the first and only of our kind of a recap shows, or I guess our walkthrough shows. The recap will be in the next show. So Krista's going to do her normal thing where she gives you kind of an overview of everything, kind of the highs and the lows of the experience, who developed it, all that sort of stuff, and then we'll dive into our mission by mission walkthrough and recap of the game. Krista, take it away.
All right, so this is a giant arcade cabinet.
It's huge.
Huge.
It is the most expensive Halo game, coming in at like 15 grand to get the arcade cabinet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess you could buy it, right? That's something for collectors.
You can. You can buy it. You can find it on eBay and listings and stuff. I was browsing them for this.
Funny.
Just to see how much money I would need for my dreams to come true. I would need a whole new house to fit that arcade machine. It is quite big, but we'll get into that. So it was published by Raw Thrills, developed by Play Mechanics with an X.
An X.
Very metal.
Very clever.
McCann X.
Mechanics. So its original release was July 2018, and it was a Dave & Buster's exclusive for quite a while. Dave & Buster's, if you don't know, it's basically like a grown-up arcade where you drink a lot of booze and you play a lot of arcade games.
It's a family experience.
It's not, though. They say it is, but it's not.
Right.
We all know they're lying.
Because they're open late. Very late.
Very late, yeah. It's a fun experience. It's pretty great. The number of missions is 6. The approximate time to completion is 30 to 45 minutes, and it's about $20 worth of credit of whatever currency you're using.
I feel like it's going to suck some money out of you regardless, right?
Yeah, I'd say per player as well.
I mean, maybe like really good players could get through it in, $10.
Yeah, if you don't suck, you pay less money.
But these games are made to kill you and take your money away, so.
It's like House of the Dead, that kind of style, but it's really fun, and it's very addicting, and it's really easy to just keep swiping your card and not realize how much money you're spending.
Yeah,
that's why you need like a buddy or a friend to do runs for you to go, quick, go restock my card.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you need 5 people to play, 1 person to restock. But I mean, 1 person could run off and get it. They just lose their score, I guess.
The one of the most popular playthroughs, if you watch on YouTube, there's like it's kind of in the middle of the screen, and you just constantly see the player on the left like reach out their hand and say, like snap their fingers and give me that card back.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah.
I like watching till they get low health, and I'm like, oh, here it comes.
Here comes
the card. I'll have to go back and see how many times they swipe the card. It'd be interesting to actually look at that. So there's not an actual like overall like Metacritic score on this game because it's not a traditional game. But IGN did give it a 7.3, and Halo Canon gave it an 8 out of 10, which I think is pretty fair considering what you're getting for this experience. Platform and difficulty? None. It's an arcade game. The only difficulty is how much money you are willing to spend on it. So we have some arcade machine specifications. So if you want to lift this thing, you have to be a pretty buff guy. It's about 3,060 pounds. Yeah, Spartan. The height is 9 foot 9 inches. The width is 11 foot 4 inches, and the depth is 9 foot 9 inches. So you basically need a separate house to get this thing in.
Right.
You're gonna need some big doors to fit it in.
Good point.
You know.
I'm sure you'd have to build it inside your house, and then it never leaves.
It's crazy. I'm sure that the 343 office probably has one of these, and when I was there, they had a bunch of like huge statues and stuff, and they're like, yeah, we had to destroy part of the building and crane in some of this stuff to get it in. I'm like, oh god, I wonder how they would get Fireteam Raven in there.
Yeah.
It's a normal office building, so it doesn't have the huge ass doors for big props, but it's fun. So some of the amazing features is a 130-inch panoramic 4K display on 2 screens. We got 4-player action with force feedback guns. And then, of course, there's a 2-player cabinet for those who don't quite have the cash to spend on the 4.
Yeah, right.
We have a 5.1 surround sound. And we have exclusive stats and rewards for players who link their Xbox Live gamer tag / account via a QR code scanner on the cabinet. I never figured out how to do that.
Oh, you didn't? It's a little bit of a pain just because you don't really want to dig around your phone when you sit down. Did you do it, Oren?
I did do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it fully registered my stats, but I think of the two, I think I played twice, and yeah, I was able to link it, but I think I had difficulty the first time. I had to like link it like between each mission or something like that.
I was a little, because I was playing with coworkers, and I was a little stressed. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do something super nerdy. You guys just need to wait for a second. I did end up getting it to link, and you end up getting not a whole lot. I mean, it's cool to have your stats online, so that it'll pull that through onto Halo Waypoint, and you can kind of see what your accuracy is, and which missions you completed and time and all that stuff. Actually, I should look up my time because that would be interesting to see. And then,
you also get a platinum rec pack.
Yeah, that's handy. That comes in.
Yeah, the platinum rec packs are so OP. I still have some from not Outpost Discovery. What was it? The Atlanta. DreamHack Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
That we went to like forever ago.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez, that was like 2017.
I know, because I got like 10 of them, and I've just been like slowly using them. It's been fun.
You also get a little badge for Halo Waypoint as well.
Ooh, I like badges. So if you can figure out how to do that.
Right.
They don't make it very obvious. You don't like sit down at the arcade machine and it's like, hey, do you have an Xbox Live account? It's like, no, you kind of have to find it. So the timeline covered is September 19th, 2552 to September 22nd, 2552. If those dates sound important and familiar to you, it is literally just the timeline of Halo Combat Evolved. This game pretty much takes place parallel with those events. You're on the Halo, you're doing the stuff. It's pretty much just the B story to Halo Combat Evolved. Some marketing and media, the making of video on the Halo YouTube channel. Pretty good. We get some insight from Frank O'Connor and the team, and said the original idea for an arcade tie-in was a pinball machine. Dude, Jesus Christ,
I hope
that would have been
becomes
so...
a thing.
And the thing is, a pinball machine is something collectors could actually collect.
Right. There's more room. It's smaller, so it could fit in a basement or something.
Like having a pinball machine's much more realistic than having a giant monstrosity in your house.
Yeah.
You just walk in, it's like one of those grand entrances, and just Fireteam Ravens in the middle.
Right.
It's like, hello, I'm a nerd. Ugh, I want one though. That'd be so sweet. Anyway, we have an arcade trailer. We have a Halo Waypoint article. I think in one of the Halo Waypoint articles, it was like Christmas time, and they were listing off some of the Christmas stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like at the very bottom, they said you could buy the Halo Fireteam Raven cabinet for $15K if you're really feeling
So funny.
someone's really special in your life. And then it, of course...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's kind of like the car commercials. You know, it's like, oh, buy your wife a car for Christmas. Like, yeah. No thanks.
Yeah. No, I think I'm good. Just a that's
Set up
what
a
I want in
payment
my
plan.
life. I want to walk out of my house on Christmas morning and just a giant Fireteam Raven with a huge ass bow on top of it.
Is Trent listening?
I will make him listen to this episode.
Perfect.
And it was present at Outpost Discovery, which was really amazing. There were a bunch of them, actually. Like,
Yeah, they're all over.
the one I went to, there was like maybe 5. There was one huge, like, 2 4-player cabinets back to back, and there was a bunch of the 2-player cabinets. And then in the VIP room, they had a separate cabinet over there. And of course, it was all free and glorious, which was great. Which made my experience when I had to sit down and pay for it very sad.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Was the first time you played it at Outpost, or did you play it
Yeah,
before
it
that?
was.
Oh, it was. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We'll talk about all our experiences in the recap show. We'll just kind of try to focus this on the mission play, but it'll be fun to have that conversation about, you know, what we all did and who we played with and stuff. It'll be good.
It's all fun things. It's a very interactive game and a very social game, which makes it really interesting to hear about people's experiences. So some additional resources you might want to learn about is Halo Reach. You might recognize that from the video game we played at the very beginning. Halo Combat Evolved, which was the video game right after that, and the video game that this game has taken place in. And then Halo the Flood. So this book is basically a retelling of Halo Combat Evolved, but it has a bunch of B stories in it. And one of the major B stories actually follows Commander Slilva and his AI, which is
Wellesley?
Wellesley.
Yeah, it's Wellesley.
which are very present in this game. So it's, and like some of the settings, like Alpha Base and stuff, like Halo the Flood is kind of where a lot of the ideas to make Fireteam Raven kind of came from, which is nice because the Flood doesn't get a very good reputation because it is pretty much just a shot-for-shot retelling of the original game.
Yeah.
So it was nice to get that book some love.
Yeah, totally. It'll be fun to have, again, I think we should save that for the recap show, and with David on. You guys have all recently read The Flood, so it'll be fun to kind of talk about the impacts and like how things will line up and all that stuff.
Yeah, and we got the book club out, so if you want to learn about the book itself, Podcast Evolved, we got the book club out there.
Oren, it's one of your, I mean, you've always speak fondly about that book, right?
I very much enjoy it. I think it definitely has a place, and it is a little hard to read, or not hard to read, but yeah, like Chris said, it doesn't have a lot of love just because it retells the story of CE, and then also has kind of the side content that does give you a little bit more kind of insight into the overall support that Master Chief has while you're playing the game, and so it is kind of difficult to tell the same story in 2 different mediums between the games and the books, because you describe the book one way and you play the game another way. Yeah. And so there are kind of discrepancies and overlaps between all that, which we can get into. But I mean, as a whole, like The Flood's still a very enjoyable novel, in my opinion. Just like how you experience everything and read it.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Thanks for the setup, guys. So now I'll just do my descriptions. The last mission that we played chronologically was the Pillar of Autumn and Lone Wolf from Halo Reach. So here's what happened if you don't remember. The remains of Noble Team escort Cortana to Captain Keyes on the Pillar of Autumn. After Spartan Emil gets gutted by an elite, Noble 6 takes control of a MAC defense cannon and aids the ship's escape from Planet Reach. While Cortana leads the Pillar of Autumn to Installation 04, Noble 6 then makes a valiant stand for survival before ultimately getting cut down by an overwhelming Covenant force, and Reach falls. Now, in Fireteam Raven, we drop out of slipspace and immediately defend the Pillar of Autumn from the Covenant boarding party. After crash landing on the mysterious Halo ring, AI Wellesley helps Fireteam Raven battle the Covenant, fend off the Flood, and help Master Chief use the Pillar of Autumn's fusion reactor to destroy the ringworld superweapon in order to save all life in the galaxy. Dates of the game, again, as Krista said, it coincides with CE, so it's September 19th through the 22nd, 2552. All right, so the way we're going to do this is I'm just going to give kind of an overview of each mission, like what we do in each mission, and then we're going to go around the horn and talk about, what our favorite parts were of the mission, guns, and just things that we enjoyed, highlight moments from each mission. That way it's not just a straight on walkthrough of the entire game, which you can either get from experiencing it or watching a YouTube. There's a couple videos out there that have full-on playthroughs. I know Halo Canon has one. There's a couple out there. Before we get into that really quickly, I just want to mention a couple things on who's involved in this game. Not a lot of people. Who's involved. The major characters, as Krista said, is Major Silva. He's at the very beginning, and I know he plays a part in the Flood. AI Wellesley is also, he's in pretty much every mission throughout. He's kind of giving you your orders. Fireteam Raven, the ODSTs, their Power Ranger colors as well. I'll list those off.
Yeah. Got to be able to tell the difference.
That's right. Ethan Graves is the leader, and he's blue. He's the Leonardo. Who's the Blue Ranger? I'm not familiar enough with Power Rangers.
Leonardo is a turtle.
I know, he's a turtle. That's my era. Power Rangers after me. We have Marcus Hudson, who's Copper. And is there any, Copper is kind of a
There's
rare
an orange
color.
turtle.
There is an orange turtle.
That's right.
I think these are just the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
There's no green, though, so Victor
Are
Ramos
your kids
is
turtle
green.
kids?
My kids are not. They're not quite turtle kids. They have turtle sheets, but they don't play with the stuff that much. But that'll happen soon. Turtles are in our future.
Dude, Turtles in Time was my jam.
Oh yeah.
I've been looking for that act. This is a tangent. Sorry. I've been looking for it. It's so expensive. You can't find it anywhere. And I have the SNES, but I want my Turtles in Time.
Yeah, you got to get it. Okay, so Victor Ramos is the green turtle. Eva Lang is our purple turtle. She's rounds out the squad there. Master Chief makes a cameo. The absence, I guess this isn't the trivia, but there's an absence of Melissa McKay, who's a big part of the Flood, but she's not in this game at all.
She's like the best part of the Flood.
Yeah.
She's basically Major Silva's number 2. In the story, and she leads her own battalion of ODSTs through the different engagements. And since Fireteam Raven kind of highlights those engagements, it is kind of off-putting to not see her presence in the game, which we can talk about a little bit more in detail later on.
Yep, definitely. So you start out just pretty much the way that Halo Combat Evolved starts out, is you drop out of slip space and you see the Pillar of Autumn, and you have a conversation with Silva. He's like, all right, this is happening, we're getting boarded, and Wellesley's saying you got about a minute before they're here, and now your job is to defend the Pillar of Autumn. So this whole first mission is really just wandering around well, you don't wander, you're on rails the entire time, so the game is taking you from spot to spot throughout the entire game, but in the mission...
It's like a normal console, shooter.
Yeah, I mean, it's linear, but the game is tugging you along, right? So you're going to different spots and defending the ship, and really trying to allow as much time as possible for the Marines and everyone on board to escape. I think Silva? I think he also says that okay, Keyes is planning on crash landing this thing down there, so let's do our best to get the Covenant off this, because that's the other part of this, is that we need the Covenant off of the Pillar of Autumn, because we don't want them to access our databases and all of our technology. So we got to get them out of the ship. That's basically it. And then at the very end, we jump out on our drop pods, and then we see the Pillar of Autumn, crashing to the ground as we then move on to the next mission from there. So any highlights from this first part? I mean, I guess we could talk now about how it felt to sit down and play this for the first time. Let's talk about that a little bit here. But it was a pretty cool experience just to see a Halo cabinet, right, and sit down, put in your money, and play the first mission. Oren, can you talk a little bit about like how that first mission played out for you?
It instantly gave me CE vibes. I mean,
Yeah.
they really nailed down the look, the feel of that first mission, Pillar of Autumn in CE. So I think that comparison is kind of present throughout the game, but they really hit home on the first one, or this first mission, Escape, because you have your foot combat, they kind of throw in some kind of anti-air, space combat a little bit. And you get to try out a few different weapons, kind of give you that taste of kind of what the rest of the game is. So it definitely is that kind of inciting and enticing first mission to really pull you in to then stay longer for the other missions. So I think the look and the atmosphere really helped you instantly get into the Halo universe.
Yeah, the first time, and I probably said this on every episode, like you're just kind of going, like you're like, okay, I'm shooting everything, and I'm with friends, so I'm not really paying attention. But like playing through it again or watching the walkthrough again, you're like, oh, they did a really good job of to Krista's point, is like this is the B stories. Like this stuff was all going on while Master Chief was trying to, make his way through the Pillar of Autumn, grab Cortana, and escape. All this other stuff had to happen, and it really, they did a good job of making it fit, especially when you do go and grab those cannons on the side of the ship and start to take out the Banshees, and you see the Halo ring and the gas giant there.
All the graphics are very striking.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very gorgeous and beautiful. Like, that is just such an amazing moment. It's like, whoa, holy shit.
Yeah, and I love how they throw that at you right away. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. So then, and like Oren said, it's like, okay, this feels like Pillar of Autumn. This feels like the first mission in Halo. And then let's step outside and see all this other cool stuff that we couldn't show you in the first game. Let's give you that experience as well. Any other thoughts on kind of your first experience with it, Krista?
The cabinet itself is so striking.
Yeah.
It's really like a showstopper. You walk into a room and your eyes, like, no matter what kind of arcade you're walking into, whether it's like the crazy modern arcades, it's quite the eye catcher.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a bunch of bleep blops, like a bunch of like strobe lights and shit. It's pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if the controls itself feel really good, like the gun feels really good in your hands, all the buttons seem to, I know it's relatively new, so we can only see with the test of time, but I mean, sometimes you walk into an arcade and you think something's really cool and you go to sit down and you're like, shit, this thing sucks. The controls are awful.
Sure. What about the kind of, as you were walking through the Pillar of Autumn, did it feel like playing Halo CE again, just on a different,
it feels like it feels like you're just playing like, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary. All the graphics are pretty much mirroring the graphics of Combat Evolved Anniversary, and which is really nice because like all the environments look the same and everything, so it immediately puts you in a place of just familiarity. So you're like, okay, I get it. I know what we're doing. I know where we are. I know what timeline we're in. Let's just go.
Yeah. What did you think about the... Go ahead.
I was just saying, it's pretty seamless immersion, I think, for if you're familiar with that, not necessarily lore people like us, but just if you have any sort of remembrance of what the first Halo game is, they really pull you in with all the familiar sounds and environments and kind of engagements.
Yeah, I feel like the sound of the assault rifle was the exact same sound from CE, and the sounds from the weapons. Yeah, that's a good point. Really kind of brings you back. What did you guys think of the Master Chief cameo in this first mission?
Love it. It's so great.
Pretty great. It was a nice touch.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the funniest parts of this mission anyway, and so just to see it in a different perspective, like him just picking someone up by their scruff and throwing them in, it's like, oh hey, yeah, I know that.
Like, wait a minute, yeah, that's totally going on right now. Yeah, that's kind of cool. There is like I've seen some critiques on like it kind of didn't happen exactly like that in CE, but I think it's fine. I think it's a cool.
Honestly, with something like this, there has to be a little bit of leeway to everything. It's like it's not going to be exactly perfect.
Yeah.
They're coming back to this setting after a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Just enjoy the little cameos.
Yeah,
when you can.
it's I consider it more of an Easter egg as opposed to like an actual plot point to the story. Like it's nice. It's mostly accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And it, who doesn't smile when they see the Master Chief?
Yeah, exactly. You're like, wait a minute, that's the guy.
Yeah,
and I think it's important to have his presence in the game to kind of, bring home the point of where in the timeline you are and what you're doing. And we all know the Master Chief was here, so I think it just kind of brings a smile to your face, like Oren said, and just kind of puts you into the story a little bit.
Yeah,
more.
it gives you context, which I think is important. But yeah, it doesn't need to be scrutinized, and
Yeah. The other I guess comment is that the Pillar of Autumn, it's obviously under assault, but like this thing is getting blown to hell inside. There's all sorts of explosions and lots of Covenant inside, and yeah, it's pretty action packed. So when you sit down and you experience this for the first time, you're like, whoa, there's a lot happening here. Yeah, totally good experience overall. Another comment, and we'll probably cover this in the next episode a little bit too, is it's clearly an arcade game, and they call it a rail shooter where, and because there are 4 players sitting down, they have to give, and there's a score, they kind of have to give everybody a similar experience on each screen. So as you're playing it, you kind of see the same amount of grunts on the left side of the screen as you see on the right side of the screen, and they don't move around too much. Like the grunts or the elites kind of hop around just a little bit, similar to what they do in Reach, but they don't. They're not too defensive.
That's just more telling for just the genre it's in.
Yeah, exactly.
All arcade cabinets like that, all the enemies come up and like there's one for each player of the same enemy, and they kind of hop around and stay right in front of you until they die, and then the next wave comes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The mission ends, as I said, with the Pillar of Autumn, crashing down. The ODSTs hop into their drop pods. The drop pods, I love the design of the drop pods. It's the old style drop pods, which is cool. And then you see the Pillar of Autumn, and it's entering the atmosphere of the Halo. The drop pods land right before the Pillar of Autumn. Then you see it just flaming, just going down. And Keys is in there, right? He's in that thing.
I think he rides it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
rides it down.
he gets in an escape pod. I mean, I don't know when exactly.
Oh yeah, he does.
But he gets in an escape pod and with some other of his bridge crew and some other Marines.
Okay.
And that's in the book.
Gotcha. Yeah. So he at least gets the Autumn close, so that he knows it's going to land on the ring.
He's one of the last people to leave.
Gotcha. The other thing to note is that at the end of each mission, since we are at the end of the first mission here, is that they do give you a score, and they list off how many enemies you kill, the max kill streak, your accuracy. So I don't know, that plays into your score a little bit. I would imagine maybe a little multiplier. Maybe that's just a good to know, fun to know, and look at your cohorts, different scores, and then it does assign a winner. And your ODST, if you're the winner, your ODST will like raise its arm in the air and give it a little celebration too, which is cool.
I like that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have that stuff in an arcade game, right? All right. So the next mission is called. So the first mission was Escape. If I failed to mention that was Escape, and that happened on September 19th, famously when we encounter the Halo installation 04 for the first time. The next mission is called Rubble, and this one starts out pretty cool because you're down there on the Halo, you're in this like desert spot, and you're rolling with a bunch of Marines now, and you immediately hop into the back of a Warthog. You see Falcons fly by, which we didn't see in CE, so it's fun to see that. And then you also see in the distance that this whole mission you're kind of slowly getting closer and closer to the Pillar of Autumn, and it's just smoldering in the background. As you get closer and closer. So you start in the Warthogs, you battle a bunch of Banshees, and in Covenant you see this big, great what do they call it? Not the skyscape. What do they call it? Skybox. Yeah, thank you. So you see the big skybox, and it's beautiful in this game. Like all Halo games have the beautiful skyboxes. And then you just kind of slowly make your way and encounter new enemies. You see ghosts. We see What else we see? We see Race in this mission here, and then you do see a Scorpion, but we don't get to get in it, which is kind of disappointing. But it's fun to hop on this chain gun right away and just work your way through it. Eventually, you see here. Eventually, you just kind of make an all-out assault down to the Pillar of Autumn, and you get heavy resistance from the Covenant. And it pretty much throws everything at you here. Any highlights for this mission, Oren? As you're finally on the Halo, and you can see the Halo, in the distance, you can see in the horizon the Halo rising up.
I really liked the Warthog gameplay where the camera is like flying with you. I mean, these are kind of scripted scenes that you kind of move, plant, and you're, kill the enemies on the screen. Kind of, it's a little bit more blocky, I guess. But like this is a little bit more fluid because you're in that Warthog, and when you're really playing it on the console versions, like you are, whipping yourself around and moving from enemy to enemy, and to kind of get right into the action right after you crash land, I think is just really, really great. Again, I think it was just done very well.
There's a cool moment where one of the Wraith takes out a Warthog, and like there's a flip, like the camera like slows down, or the motion goes down, and it flips around in front of you, and then you have to take out those Wraiths. A lot of cool moments throughout this game like that.
Yeah, so I think that this did a really good job to just kind of get you in it, and very, very cinematic, I'd say, and as it pans through during your assault to get to the Pillar of Autumn. That'd be the highlight for me.
One of the comments, if you watch that making of video, which I recommend, is the Play Mechanics guys and the who's the other developer again who published Raw Thrills. Like, they know arcade games, right? Like, they're one of the biggest players in arcade. Because arcades aren't as big as they were back in the day, but they're still around, and these guys know how to do it, and they're wanting to make a good experience not only for the player, but also for the people that are sitting around either waiting for the player or waiting to play next. They want to make the whole thing a cool experience for as many people as possible. So it's fun to kind of see, when you watch it again or play it again, like you're definitely picking up on different things that you may not have seen the first time when you're just playing it, or you just may miss things completely that only somebody that's watching would be able to pick up on. Chris, any thoughts on, now that we're on the Halo, any thoughts on this mission?
I like the setting. I like the fight to get to Pillar of Autumn.
Yeah.
It was in the book. We'll talk more about the lore implications of it, but it was nice to see that in the game. It's nice to see that they're, taking the cues from the Flood and really illustrating them very well. And of course, rocket launchers to Banshees.
Yeah.
How can you not love that? Bye-bye, Banshees.
Just the unlimited ammo on everything is pretty great.
If I can't fly the Banshee, no one can fly the Banshee.
Drones pop up in here too, so you gotta see drones, which you don't see in CE. So there's
a lot of stuff in this that you don't see in CE. Like a good like 50% of the enemies and stuff is not something you see in CE.
Yeah, which you need, I think, for the arcade game to have the variety. And I'll mention later on, like I do remember it getting a little bit tiresome towards the end. And so they need variety and things to make it, just to switch up the experience. What else do you have here? You have lots of different elites, and you have a little bit of everything, and it's fun. The mission ends where you're kind of at the base of the Pillar of Autumn and just fighting off as many Covenant as possible. Let's see here. Yeah, there's no other fancy encounters on this mission here. But then you do the spirits come in, and you get to take out the spirits. That's pretty fun. That's one of the rocket launcher sequences when you get to take down one of the spirit drop ships, and that's cool.
Oh yeah, you actually get to take down one of those stupid ships.
Exactly. The way the mission ends too, I like, because you really see, you have a little quick conversation with Wellesley, and then you see the force of the UNSC. You see all these warthogs, you see falcons flying in, you see pelicans flying in, you see scorpions. So it's like, oh, okay, this helps flesh out a little bit more of the Halo CE experience. It makes more sense that there are all these Marines kind of scattered throughout, and there are certain missions where you encounter them. It's because there was a really big force of Marines on the Pillar of Autumn.
The Pillar of Autumn is a huge ship, and they were ready to fight down on Reach and save the planet, but then, they got sidetracked. Biggest sidetrack in history.
Right. Little detour.
So, I mean, they were also on the way to their other, their own mission before they, encountered the ring. So that whole mission got derailed because of this. And so when you're playing CE, you kind of get lost that you're the only person here, but you have this whole support battalion that's with you in the background, and that the book touches on, and that this game touches on as well.
Yep. All right, the next mission is called Alpha Base, and this is a day later. So September 21st, Chief is off doing his thing. Now the Marines have established this base, and this is a good tie-in with the book, right? With the flood.
Oh my gosh, yes, because Alpha Base is such a crazy structure.
No, I think there was 2 fights at Alpha Base, and the second one was the flood. We don't fight the flood on this mission, do we?
Nope, not yet.
Yeah, so this is.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You meant the flood, like the book.
The book. Yeah.
But yes, this is. I'd say this is the second or the one of the other major battles that happens in the book that they visualized and put in the game.
Which is so nice because Alpha Base is described pretty crazily in the book itself, and it's kind of hard to visualize, so it's really nice to have like a visual representation of what Alpha Base is, because it's such a crazy structure they find. Because they're just like walking around the Halo ring, they're like, where should we put our base? Oh, that looks cool. It's some crazy giant Forerunner structure on a mountain.
Right, so that is true to the book.
Oh yes, yeah. Alpha
Cool.
Base is Master Chief goes to Alpha Base. It's where pretty much all the UNSC forces end up during the duration of the battle for Installation 04.
Yeah, this is where Chief goes between missions to kind of restock, redeploy, and then get so whenever he goes into a Pelican and goes to another place, that's kind of how it ties together.
Yeah.
Nice. Couple cool moments. You do you hop in a shade turret at one point, which is.
Oh yeah.
I guess the Covenant would have had to drop a shade turret down somewhere, and then plan to use it against you.
Alpha Base was already inhabited by Covenant, and then the UNSC took it over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so the shade turrets were there.
Yeah, there's a whole assault to get to Alpha Base as well that happens early in the book, and then
I see. Okay.
of fighting the Covenant forces there, and then reclaiming it. And after we get the supplies from Pillar of Autumn, they then kind of restock and repurpose Alpha Base into the UNSC base.
And then of course the Covenant would come back and try to take it back. But...
Yeah.
There's a nice crashed Pelican scene in this mission as well.
There is.
Oh, good.
I put in my notes Pelican crash lands in style.
Yep. That's very good. There are some rocket launcher experiences where you take out a Phantom, which you don't see in Halo CE, but it would make sense that they have the different drop ships. You get to see some jackals and whatnot. Let's see here. Pretty much just, you're just defending the base, and you're working your way through the different structures. As Krista said, it's cool to see the visual representation of it. Anything else, any other highlights in this mission that you guys want to mention? Or anything else you had in your notes?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably my favorite mission, just because of the visual fidelity of it. Like Krista said, these are 4K, huge panoramic monitors. They're basically upscaling it from the CE remaster anniversary, and it to me the moment for the second mission in Halo CE where you get to see Halo and you walk around. There's a big moment in kind of Halo history, and I feel like that moment is at least kind of seen, or at least I get feels when you see this, because you get to see the nice greenery and bright kind of saturation of the environment in this mission, whereas the previous mission was a little bit more kind of gritty and dirty, and like the canyon and stuff. So yeah, I think this is just the most visually striking mission. You get to fight all the Covenant, and a lot of variety. You get your explosions, and UNSC is on the defense. I just think it's just a great mission. It's, like I said, probably my favorite.
Krista, what other highlights for you?
I mean, what's better than just fighting huge onslaughts of the Covenant? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's all our favorite thing to do, so this mission just gives you so much of that. It's great.
So you fight hunters in this. The first time you see them is they drop out of this side of a spirit, and you take them. The hunter fights aren't that interesting. I mean, even less interesting than hunter fights are usually. And they have little health bars, so you have to take down the health bar, and it pops up on the screen when you start shooting it, and then they just stagger it, which prevents them from shooting at you. And I think there's maybe 3 health bars that you have to take down. And there's a hunter on
They're
each
just big
side.
angry boys.
Yeah, they're essentially just mini bosses, but it would have been nice to get a little bit more like staged fighting. Like, after you stagger them once or twice, it might shift its tactic a little bit.
Yeah.
But
But it's happening so fast. Like all these missions, they only take 8 minutes to get through, which I think they need to, right? They need to.
The whole thing's designed to kind of be quick, bite-sized, engagements.
Yeah, exactly. So you see hunters, and then there's that lich moment too, where a lich drops down. Remember seeing that? Yeah, and so a lich drops down, which isn't NCE again, but it does make sense that a lich could be around. It actually has a name. I forgot to write it down, but this specific lich has a name, and it's piloted by a specific elite, I believe, as well. But it drops down, and you can kind of clear out all the Covenant that are inside. Then it flips, so it'll go away, and then it flips around, and it'll show you the other side where there's a bunch of elite zealots on the other side. So that's a cool encounter as well.
And liches are really cool, and we haven't really seen any since Halo 4, right?
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, Halo 4 was the only time we saw it, I think. Well, no, they were in Halo 5. I don't think we just.
Yeah, I don't think we fight them in Halo 5, but I think
okay.
the Arbiter rides them in Halo 5.
Yeah.
They're good. They're cool vehicles. I like them. They're like almost Sky Revenants, which is cool. They're just kind of a hybrid of smaller vehicles and bigger vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So the name of this lich is Upright Chalice.
Very nice. Thank you for putting that up. All right, so we end up we clear out the Covenant and now send them on their way. Now the next mission is called Ice Canyon, and this one looks very familiar. We get another cameo moment in this mission. This is like the Assault on the Control Room timeline, and you're in this, isn't it?
No, I think it's 2 betrayals. Like I think this is the biggest time jump in terms of where we think we are in CE versus where we are in Fireteam Raven.
It's 2 betrayals.
Remember,
Okay.
Assault on the Control Room is before the Flood.
Okay, so 2 betrayals is when the Flood is around.
Yeah, I'd say Assault to the Control Room happens either during / before the fight at Alpha Base.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Thank you for correcting me. That makes sense then, because you see a lot of familiar places. I mean, we see this mission twice in Halo CE, right? So,
we go down one way and then we turn around and go back.
Yep, exactly. And when we come back is when the Flood is there, and that's when we're encountering them. This is September 21st again, so same day, and ODSTs fly in on a Falcon, and you get to control the chain guns on the Falcon right away. And I like how it says, because it is those nostalgia moments, right? It's like, I'm in this place where I think I remember this from Halo CE, and then all of a sudden we start fighting the Flood. It's like, I definitely remember this, because you're on that bridge that painful bridge from Halo CE where it's just infested with Flood. So it's fun to see that. And this is another point where it's like, when would this happen in the timeline? This whole mission is kind of like, was Chief already here, or are we getting here first? It's one of those questions. Is it the same bridge that Chief went across? Maybe not. I'm sure there's lots of these bridges around.
Yeah, I'd say from a canon point of view, this mission's probably the least connected for that kind of like, okay, Chief's like in this same canyon that we are, but this and but that. So you kind of get that, but at the same time, it's like, well, this ice canyon is a pretty recognizable piece of the whole Halo CE campaign. Like I said, we have 2 missions devoted to this canyon.
Yeah.
It's a different environment from the lush greenery and the barren wasteland. So we have the good ice sort of environment. So it kind of makes sense to feature that, and it kind of just is what it is. That we're kind of this different point of view that may or may not be with Master Chief, and so you just kind of, I don't know, I feel like there's only so much that you can do if you really wanted to have a mission set here, and for 3 obviously really wanted it, and I feel like they did, the best that they can do.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like you said, you see that bridge and you instantly know, crap, I have all this flood that's just going to be overrun because you have these big set pieces. And then also when you're on the ground, there's vehicles, there's just huge, just like troves of flood just because they come in mass. So it really hits those iconic moments from the previous games and just puts it into this game with a new flavor.
And they don't really explain the flood. I mean, Wellesley says there's something dangerous here, but I mean, you don't have enough time to explain that stuff in an arcade game anyway. So if you're not familiar with Halo, this is just the zombie mission, and now you have zombies as part of it. And if you are familiar, then it has that cool tie-in that Oren is talking about. Any highlights for you, Krista?
They have flood pure forms.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, which would also make sense because Keys is going to be the next grave mine, so it would make sense that the Flood have enough biomass to create pure forms, but it's of course like, the tenacity of it is a little, shaky. Like, are they really supposed to, did they have enough biomass to make the pure forms, or... So, because, if you don't know, Flood pure forms are made from pure flood biomass, which means the flood have to have a crazy amount of hold on a certain area in order to do it, which would probably mean that they've kind of really set up base like inside the installation.
But did they have enough time is kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, do they have enough time and enough bodies in order to do it? Because it takes a lot of dead bodies to make that.
Yeah, it's essentially just an amalgamation instead of taking over a host.
Yeah.
And so are these pure forms, are they the tank form of the pure form? Or are they the...
Yeah, they're the tank.
Kind of the more hulky form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But to kind of go back to what you were saying, Colin, like they really need the variety. And so, I think it's within reason to kind of have them here. Because, I mean, they've been locked up on the ring for so long that, the game only takes place over 2 days, 2 or 3 days. But yeah, it's not within the realm of disbelief, I think. But it does give that variety, like you mentioned, and they're just a bigger enemy to fight.
Yep. A couple other highlights for me that I wrote down in my notes. You get the Magnum, which is fun. I don't think we had the Magnum until then. Maybe we did, but I feel like there's a big portion of this where you get the Magnum.
I think this is the only mission you get the Magnum.
Is it? Okay. So it's fun to finally have that, like, hey, yeah, I get this beautiful thing to smoke some flood against. And then another, kind of right when you get that Magnum and that whole sequence, you hear one of the Marines, he goes, "What are these things?" It's very good. So they tie in some of that chatter from the Marines that you get in the other games as well. You get a rocket launcher at one point, so that feels good. And we get another cameo, another Chief moment. Krista, what do you think about this Chief moment?
He bops a pure form.
Yeah.
Just kind of bops him. It's cool. It's cool to see Master Chief doing stuff as always. Like I said, is it canon? Who cares?
Yeah.
We're having a good time. We're worried too much about our wallets to worry about canon.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, hey, it's like after the fact you can think about it, like, wait a minute. But in the moment, it's very good.
Yeah, it's an Easter egg. I don't see this as too, strict in terms of the canon. It's a nice moment. It's cool. It is what it is.
I'm not sure this game in general was supposed to be taken super seriously by the lore community anyway.
Yeah, I mean the Easter eggs I think are nice probably from the lore side of things, but in terms of like a canonical experience, yeah, not so much. But yeah, it's fun to see Chief pop in and he has a shotgun and he just wrecks shop for a little bit, saves your ass, gives you a little nod, and then moves on his mission. So I don't think you see until the very end, you don't see carrier forms and infection forms. There's a big moment at the end where you just kind of get overwhelmed, and then you're spraying the screen with as much ammunition as you can. And then you see the Covenant come back towards the end, and then you get picked up by a falcon, and then you head off. Although your falcon does get smoked by a wraith on the way out. Yeah. So you're flaming and headed off the other direction at the end. All right, so let's go. We have 2 missions left. The next mission is called Raven Down, and somehow this is the next day. So the previous mission, Ice Canyon, was the 21st, so it must have been the evening. It is a darker setting, so I guess it makes sense. That must have been in the evening of the 21st, and now we're on the 22nd when our Falcon finally gives out and crash lands into the next mission here. So you start off in the crash site, obviously, and you're really just fighting your way back to the Autumn, I think. Does that sound right? Let's see here. Yeah, you're just fighting your way through the last just in the Halo, and let's see here. What does Wellesley say to you here?
I think, yeah, you're just trying to go maybe back to the Pillar of Autumn or back to Alpha Base. It's not really said, but you're just trying to regroup with other ODST forces, and we just crash land en route. And so Wellesley just then, he says that we send a Pelican to extract.
Yeah. So this is kind of like a tweener mission. It's like, okay, it makes sense that you got taken out by the Wraith. You're going to crash. We got to go pick you up is really what happens. Wellesley says, okay, we're going to send a Pelican. You just need to survive until then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so lots more good fighting. There's a couple interesting encounters in this mission as well. You know, we have our full-on three faction battles. So you have your Covenant, and you have your Flood, and they're fighting you, and they're fighting each other, and you see all that going on in the background. You see this kind of building that you work your way through as you're holding out, trying to wait for the Pelican, and then some Juggernauts show up.
What?
Yeah, these crazy guys.
Mm-hmm. So you have these Juggernauts, and they have these crazy tentacle arm thingies that try to like whack you with. And this encounter is really similar to the Hunter fight, where they have a little health bar, and once you drain that health bar, they stagger, but then they stagger and one of their arms gets blown off. Did you guys notice that?
Which is really cool. Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm. The way that they show up right away is cool, because you're working your way through this building, and then you see these tentacle arms kind of come up and grab one of the Covenant, one of the elites, and chucks them off the side. You're like, oh shit. Yeah, and then you're just kind of going toe-to-toe with these things, and they smack you and you blow their arms off. So it's fun to see some more different, again, we need some variety in this game. So here's some more Flood forms that you haven't really encountered in first-person shooter games at all.
Yeah, and the Juggernauts have an interesting history. I think we'll cover on that later.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah.
We can cover off.
They were really cool to see. I like that they were implemented in some way back into the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, you have another moment where you're in the shade turret, and then you have some, shoot down some banshees, which is always lots of fun. I feel like at this point, as I'm playing through it, I'm focusing. You're towards the end, right? Because it's showing you the mission by mission. There's 6 missions left, and it started to hype up my I gotta win, right? Like, because you're playing against 3 other people. You're like, okay, I gotta start.
You're the Halo guy, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Halo guy in that?
And I gotta start. Yeah, exactly. I gotta start stealing kills, so I'm like going cross screen, like trying to get my score up, and really focusing on that big number that's staring at you, staring at you in the middle of the screen. Any other thoughts on this encounter? It feels a little like filler-like. This is also the point where I started to focus on the kills, but I also was like, okay, now what's next? Like, give me something new. It started to drag on a little bit in this mission.
I think this mission's a tad too long from a gameplay perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But what is cool with this is that you do have like interior fights.
Yeah.
Because you are trying to seek cover and get out, because you are getting kind of overrun. So they do kind of give you a little nice environment shifts where you're in and out of the kind of constructs, and out in the outside and all that. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, I think you kind of get a little fatigued kind of watching and playing after playing 4 missions as well. So yeah. It's just kind of an unfortunate kind of symptom of it all, but
Well, it's an intense experience. Like, it's an arcade. It's supposed to be just all action. Where when you're playing games, either any of the other Halo games, there's a break, right? So like in the strategy games, like, okay, I'm gonna take a little break. I've played this mission, or like there's a little downtime while I build up my base. And then in the first-person shooter games, you get some story moments, or some breaks,
or like sniper
between
missions that are just a little bit slower paced.
Mm-hmm.
So the gameplay pace does kind of fluctuate in more traditional games, whereas the arcade game, it's action every single mission.
Well, and I'm not sure they necessarily intended crazy people like us to play the entire game in one sitting.
But how could you not, as a Halo fan? Right?
I know. As a Halo fan, we have to. We're obligated. We're bad Halo fans.
There's a pelican that circles around towards the end. Is that the one that's trying to pick us up? Did you guys?
Yes, I think so. I made that on my notes. Like, this is like the hottest extraction because like there's so much going on. This pelican's flying around, and you have to, the four of us have to blow everything up.
Yep. Yeah, you got to take out some phantoms at one point. There's a shade turret moment. So, and then you do get another juggernaut moment at the very end of the mission. So you got to take out these juggernauts. And the juggernauts, is this the one where they're fighting the hunters? Yeah.
Just yeets a hunter. It's great.
There's a bunch of hunters. Yeah, so it's like a 4-on-4 battle, and the juggernauts just destroy the hunters. And then you're like, oh shit, okay. And then you got to take on the juggernauts again. I guess that's probably it would probably have been too much if they introduced the juggernauts at that point, with the hunters there. If you're going to have another juggernaut fight, it makes sense just to like show their power again by taking out these hunters versus just yeeting the elite right away. So we finish up by taking out those juggernauts. You hop into the pelican. The Flood are all shaking their fists at you as you as you fly away, and then we get the last mission. Now we got to go back to the Pillar of Autumn, and the little icon for this mission is a scarab. So you're like, oh, there's a scarab here, and it pretty much throws that at you right away. You're getting a little debrief with, I guess Graves talks to Wellesley, and he's talking to his ODST. He's like, okay, here's the plan. Chief's going to blow up that reactor. We're all going to die. Let's go do it.
I like how just gung-ho they're all about it. They're like, this is a one-way trip. Yep. Who cares? Let's go. Yep.
I mean, they're probably, at this point, it's been a couple of days on this thing. They probably realize they're not getting off this thing anyway. They're just trying to survive and save humanity. So this is the final, like, okay, we're going to die now, but we're going to die fighting.
We're going to die now. Bye. Bye, guys.
Yeah, pretty much. The scarab pops up pretty early in the mission, and it just kind of stares at you, and you're like, oh, you kind of see it in the background actually first, and then you slowly get closer and closer to it. What did you think about seeing the scarab in this mission?
Oh, I thought it was a great way to. I wasn't expecting it, but I think it was the great way to give like a giant boss fight at the end of the Halo game.
Yeah.
I think that's not utilized as often, like the Tartarus fight in Halo 2. So I was very pleased to see. Oh snap, man! There's a scarab here, and then the whole mission you're kind of fighting towards it, and that's kind of just looming in the background. So I thought it was like probably the best way to go out.
Yeah. There's a good Warthog moment at the beginning here too, so it's fun to hop back on the Warthog and take control of that chain gun, and kind of you're slowly getting your way more and more towards the Scarab and the Pillar of Autumn at the same time. Chris, anything that pops out to you as we make our way towards the finale?
I like the way that the Scarab's like a looming threat throughout this entire mission, because it kind of builds up anticipation. Mm-hmm. And I like that a lot. I like how it's like, ooh, when is it going to attack us?
Yeah.
When we get to kill the Scarab.
Yeah, because you know what's going to happen. It stares you down and is like, I don't have to worry about that. And then it kind of turns its attention. And actually, it turns its attention. Another cool cameo moment is where it sees Chief in the Banshee as it heads for the Pillar of Autumn.
Yeah. And they're like, don't shoot at that. That's Master Chief. Yeah. He's about to crash it anyway.
But another good tie-in, for the people that are like us that are familiar with the CE story, it's like, oh wait, yeah, this is the moment when he goes in, and he probably spends a little more time on the Autumn than it is from this point until you get to the end of the arcade game, but that's okay.
Yeah. Time happens faster in arcade mode.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. It has to. So after the scarab sees that, it actually starts to chase him down, and it runs away. And now you're like, oh, okay, I gotta go get that, and I gotta go stop that thing before it can get to Chief and blow up the Autumn. Before Chief needs to blow up the Autumn his way before they take out the Autumn. So yeah, just this mission just throws everything at you. Pretty much everything that we've talked about from an encounter standpoint is here again. You know, you have more drones, you have more ghosts, you have more race, you have everything, and then you also have there's a cool moment where you're in the chain gun still in the Warthog, and you look behind, and then a whole bunch of Marines in their Warthogs and the Pelicans and Falcons, they fly by you. So it's like, okay, I have a little support left. It gives you a little bit more of that. Okay, this is the last little push, and then you finally get blown out of your Warthog, and you're like, oh crap, here we go. And you're and then the other right after that happens, the Scarab steps on the Warthog, and now you're right underneath the Scarab.
That was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah. Anything I missed as we get towards the very, very end?
No,
I think it's a great kind of here's everything thrown at you.
Yeah.
You know, like it literally is the last stand.
Yep, and then more flood comes your way. The way that you take out the Scarab is a Falcon comes and picks you up. So you hop on the back of that thing. You go around the Scarab a little bit and clear out some of the elites. And then I think it must get hit, and then it drops you off on the Scarab, and then you're finally on the Scarab as you're used to from the other Halo games. You get to take out some of the elites, and then right as you're going around to the back of it, right before you get there, a couple hunters drop in front of you, and you get like, oh, another hunter fight. But by this time, you know it's not that bad, but you may have to get one extra swipe on your card.
Yep.
Just to take him down. It's like,
Oof, that'd be unfortunate.
Yeah, right. So one more swipe on the card, take out those hunters, and then go take out the core of the Scarab, and then you're done. Then we've made it through Fireteam Raven. Raven did their job. They took out the Scarab because this Scarab was a threat to, I guess, Master Chief and blowing up the Autumn or taking him out. So they needed to protect him so that he could set off the reactor. The other thing, let's see here. What's the last commentary by Graves? Oh, he just says it's been a pleasure serving with you all, and it's all up to Chief, and then they all die. More dead soldiers. Yeah. Oh, something I did mention, I'm thinking of it now, I guess. Just, Graves has some moment. He's like the main character of the ODSTs. He at the very beginning, the first mission, I think he mentions, he says it's payback time, because they were on Reach, right? So they had just come in out of slip space. They had already fought in the Covenant on Reach. They escaped. They knew Reach was going down. So Graves is like, okay, now it's our chance to pay them back. So there's just a little bit of interesting dialogue here and there. All right. I think that's good. That's a good walkthrough. We'll cover off on our kind of our full thoughts about, lore and experience and stuff like that on the next mission. Anything you guys want to mention before we do that?
If you have a chance to play this, play it. It's so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. If you see it, play it.
Yeah, just give your... I called around to different Dave & Buster's in the area back when it was like getting its release to kind of see when it would come out, and I didn't live near one, so I had to call like Atlanta and Jacksonville and to see who had it and who didn't have it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, by now it's pretty widespread, so I mean I see them in like on the Jersey like boardwalks and stuff now. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty accessible in the US, I think, in kind of major city areas. And yeah, definitely, I mean, at least play, $5 or $6 worth if you have it, because it definitely is a unique Halo experience.
Yep.
It's an unfortunate time for us to be talking about this as well, because we can't actually go out and play.
That's true.
I was looking forward to sitting down because one of my local like small arcades has it, and then a bowling alley nearby me has it as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I have options.
And that's just interesting to note, I guess, is that it's available in lots of different places. My local arcade, restaurant/bar had it for me, but it must be one of the better just arcade experiences that is out right now. If it's that prevalent. You know, like when I'm thinking about arcade, like random arcade cabinets in bars or whatnot, it's usually like, you know, Big Buck Hunter, Cruisin' USA.
Galaga.
You know, that's, yeah, right,
Galaga's
Galaga.
my favorite.
But the fact that it's making its way pretty much all over as kind of a hot new thing means it must be doing well too. So that's good.
Yeah, I saw it in a movie theater as well about a year after
nice.
its initial release or something like that. And yeah, we went to the movies and I was like, oh snap, that's new.
I think that not a lot of really good quality cabinets are coming out anymore.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
And I think Halo's a big enough knit title that even people who aren't super into the franchise, who just know about it, look at it and say, oh shit, that looks cool. I guess I'll sit down and play that. Like,
Yeah.
it's recognizable enough for people to just be like, I got a couple bucks. Let's go.
Yep, there's like a Jurassic Park game that's out there that I've seen a lot of places. There's like some Mario experiences. Anyway, there's some newer stuff, but there's not a lot either. So it's fun to see Halo is one of the players in the space right now. It's a good experience.
It's a weird space for Halo to be into. Like,
yeah,
this is the last thing anyone ever expected.
Right.
Yeah, now we need a Halo Infinite pinball machine.
Yes, please.
Make it happen, Frank, please. All right, let's talk about this trivia really quick. There's a couple bullet points. Oren's going to take the role of David for that. We'll do some community questions, and then we will get out of here. So what do you have on the trivia side? I reached out to Chris Aiken, who's our kind of our lore expert Halopedia contact, and just said, hey, is there anything that's worth mentioning? And, you know, he's a wealth of knowledge, and he has all sorts of interesting tidbits. But he pulled out a couple things for me. Some of the things we may have mentioned, but not a lot on Halopedia in terms of trivia that we usually get from the other missions and the other games. But there's a couple points here.
Yeah, so we've kind of mentioned a handful of these. So Melissa McKay, she's an ODST. Like we kind of said, Major Silva's kind of second in command. She doesn't appear in Fireteam Raven, although she does take a pretty large role in the Flood novel. You know, we actually see her point of view as the reader a few times throughout, and she has some big moments towards the climax of the book. And so she leads the charge of the Pillar of Autumn in the second mission, you know, Rubble, as well as the assault to defend, or the defense of Alpha Base. She her and her squad kind of do some fancy things to combat the Flood that we don't really see. So
she's one of the stronger characters in that book, right?
Oh,
she really is.
Yeah. She's one of the best.
I'd say, of the characters that aren't in the game, she's probably the next best one. It's a shame that this would be the perfect opportunity to see more of her, since, you know, we know kind of what happens to everybody at the end of CE. But yeah, definitely strong character, and I think probably the biggest disappointment is to not see her in this game when you look at the whole experience. But again, it's sort of minor from a gameplay perspective. It's more so from kind of a lore perspective, and she's just a cool character.
Yeah.
So again, CE, Fireteam Raven, and the Flood novel all exist in the same 3 or 4 day span. 2 of them, CE and Raven, or CE and the Flood, kind of gel together nicely, but if you try to wrap your head around all 3, that's where the kind of inconsistencies come from. And it's not like 343 didn't try, it's just the nature of the mediums. I'd argue that the arcade cabinet is a different medium than console gaming. And just like when you adapt a book into a TV show or a comic book into a movie, you're going to have inconsistencies because of the type of storytelling that it is. Or just different Easter eggs and stuff, like Master Chief showing up and killing a Flood form that wasn't in the game, or in Halo Reach when you kind of pan over and you see Chief in cryotube. So
yeah.
It is what it is. It's fun. It's a game. You're supposed to enjoy it. But all that considered, 343 did a really good job at least meshing the major strokes to where everything more or less lines up. The Flood 2010 edition novel retconned the Hell Jumpers were in the parts that are taken from CE's campaign into Marines. So I guess there's just a tidbit to where Hell Jumpers is another name for the ODSTs. So they kind of just changed those rules to make it a little more consistent. The Raven Down mission is the first level in the Halo series to feature the Flood Juggernaut as an enemy. It was cut from the development of Halo 2, but the Juggernauts also appear, I believe, in Halo Wars 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
They're huge in
was Halo
Halo
Wars 2's out before
Fireteam Raven? Yeah.
Fireteam
Yeah.
Raven?
Yeah.
Or when did the expansion
2016
come?
was yeah.
Oh, okay,
all the
so-
expansions were out before Raven.
Were out before. Okay, that makes sense. And then this is my favorite bit of trivia here is the region featured in Raven Down. That mission bears a resemblance to the Halo Reach Forge map, Forge World, and specifically that part of the map that kind of turned into Hemorrhage, which is kind of the Blood Gulch remake in the Halo game. So you can even argue that this Halo game has some form of Blood Gulch in it. But it also the environments and the structures look very similar to Forge pieces. As opposed to the more distinct Forerunner architecture that you get like at Alpha Base. So I think it's just a really cool bit that they were able to kind of throw in there as a nod to the different regions of Halo.
Definitely. Thanks, Oren. All right, let's get into our community, and we will get out of here. Krista, why don't we start with Discord, since Oren he needs a drink of water.
Aw, poor guy. Call-in posts April 28th, 2020 at 10:24 a.m. Oof. What's the best moment in Fireteam Raven? Parentheses. Question 4. Mission debrief. Fireteam Raven gameplay discussion. End parentheses. So we have Fascist Dictator. Very nice. He says, personally, I like the Warthog. Anything else on Fireteam Raven when you're on the ground feels controlled. When you're firing from a vehicle turret, it's more believable. So,
Sure.
I mean, you can't control where the Warthog goes anyway, so...
Yeah, you're just bouncing
feel you.
around.
Yeah,
so
especially when Cat drives.
That's why needle rifle is my favorite gun.
Right. Nice.
Axel says, 2 moments come to mind when you are defending Alpha Base. Because of how chaotic I have always imagined a conflict between UNSC and Covenant would be. And the Master Chief appears to save your ass. I squealed like a little girl. I would pay to see that. Ian just says unlimited rockets. No punctuation or anything.
Yeah,
That's
that
it.
is good. And you just see like on the spanker, right, the rocket launcher, like it rotate, it's just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Just fire away. It's good.
Spartan B312 says unlimited rockets and the OP plasma pistol. The grenades are also useless, but the mini bosses like Hunters and Flood Juggernauts are fun. Yeah, it's kind of fun to pick up like a needler and then like you're looking at a vehicle or something or a ship and you're like, I don't think this is gonna work. God, this is a needler. But it's like, okay. Jedi Spartan 38 says Master Chief escaping the Pillar of Autumn. Classic. King Bigbeard says the visual interpretation of Alpha Base. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Wolf says my fab moment memory has to be sitting on a sticky seat in the cinema playing a flood level. Really helps with the immersion.
There you go.
Hector Elite says the only thing, the flood. That's it.
Nice.
Pope says, I haven't been able to play it, but seeing the Flood Juggernauts for the first time was really cool. And that's about it. Thank you guys for your answers to our questions.
Yeah. Thanks, Discord. You were surprisingly not raunchy this time. Thanks, guys.
It's really hard to be raunchy for this, I guess.
Yeah. All right, Oren, what do you have on Facebook?
So we asked the same question on Facebook, and so we got 4 responses. Luke said, being able to play the newish game that feels old and familiar to you with your friends in person, and seeing our good friend Master Chief popping in a few times, even though he really wasn't supposed to be there sometimes. Yeah, that's actually another thing I wanted to mention, is that in the making of video, they 3 for 3 and Raw Thrills really wanted the cabinet to feel like you were like couch co-op. Like you were sitting on a couch and playing with your friends in person, and I do think that they really achieved that kind of design goal. So yeah, Luke, I agree with that statement. Matthew said, at that time I got to play it start to finish. Oh wait, that hasn't happened yet.
Oh,
poor Matt.
You can talk to David about that.
Yeah, you guys can talk about that together. I'm sure you have a lot to talk about. Manny said, when I play it with my son at Halo Outpost Discovery, a time I will always reminisce.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I hope they do Outpost Discovery again. It was so cool, so great.
Yes, please.
Please.
Let us. We can maybe try to all rendezvous in the same city this time.
Yeah. Chris said fighting the new flood forms was his most favorite part. And lastly, Tom, seeing Alpha Base realized on screen. Really cool seeing a big part of the background campaign on Installation 04 finally given a visual representation.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were happy with that.
No, yeah, it's just a wicked cool base, just in general. Like, not only just to see it represented, but it'd be really cool to see that in a first-person game and walk around, and very good design.
All right, thanks everybody. We appreciate the insight and the participation as always. That will do it for our debriefing of Halo Fireteam Raven, all of the missions. On the next episode, we'll be recapping our experience. And we're going to get David in here, and he's going to ask all sorts of jealous questions about the experience. It's going to be great. Send us your thoughts at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet, Podcast Evolved on Twitter. You can also support the show by visiting Podcast Evolved on Patreon. Oren is here, so I'm going to mention Audible. We have an Audible, a code, Oren?
It's a URL. So if you go to audibletrial.com/podcastevolved, you can sign up for your trial of Audible for free for 30 days. And if you like the service, you can continue with their monthly subscription.
All right, that'll do it for the show, guys. Thanks. Until next time, evolve.
Evolve.